This video will demonstrate how you can extend AQtime's functionality using the AQtime SDK. The SDK is a set of files which you can use to create your own AQtime plugins and incorporate them into AQtime. It also includes sample projects that demonstrate how you can use these files to create the plugins. The AQtime SDK also includes the AQtime helpers file. This file includes functions that let you turn profiling on and off, get results during profiling, assign custom names to threads in the profile application, and obtain the names of those threads directly from the application's code. Today, we'll demonstrate how you can include this file into your application and control the profiling process from your source code. In our demonstration today, we'll use the sample cycles application that's shipped with AQtime. As you can see, I've already loaded up Visual Studio, I've already loaded up that cycles project, and I've already created an AQtime profiling project for that solution. Okay, let's get started. AQtime allows you to control the process of collecting profiling information during a profiling session. For instance, you can temporarily disable collecting data at any point in time during that application's run and then re-enable it at a later time. You can command AQtime to enable or disable profiling at any point in time by using this Enable Disable button right here. However, sometimes this may be inconvenient. It's difficult to estimate exactly when you're supposed to press that button. So you can also set up triggers and actions to pause and resume profiling when a specific function is called in your application. Besides that, you can use specific functions of the AQtime SDK to control the profiling status directly from your application's code. This has the same effect as using the Enable Disable Profiling button or using actions and triggers, but unlike those approaches, the SDK gives you the power to switch the profiling status on or off whenever you really want that to happen. For instance, you start an application with the profiling status disabled, enable it in the middle of some function, and only when specific conditions are met. So let me demonstrate how to enable and disable profiling from within your application's code. To do this, we should include the AQtime helpers file in our application's project. So to do that, I'm going to right-click on the solution name here. I'm going to say Add Existing Item, and then I'll browse out to where the SDK helpers file lives. In my case, it's the AQtime SDK CS file, and then I'll pick this AQtime helpers file and click Add. Now this file, let's take a look at its code. This file contains the declaration of an enable profiling function, and that commands AQtime to enable or disable profiling. The actual action depends on the function's parameter. If it's false, the function disables profiling, and if it's true, then the function enables it. So let's actually call this function in our code. I'm going to go into the form1 CS file here, and I'm going to say view code, and let's insert a call to that into our into a particular method called the profiling test method. So I'm just going to jump down to that. And as you can see here, this function's calling a handful of other functions. We've got it calling do action A, do action B, and ultimately do action C. So suppose we want to disable profiling right after the do action B function is called. To do this, I'm going to call the enable profiling function right here and set its parameter equal to false. So we'll put in AQtime helpers, enable profiling, and set that equal to false. There we go. Now I'm going to rebuild my solution. Go build solution. There we go. And then I can start profiling by clicking on the run button right here on the AQtime toolbar. Okay, so now AQtime has launched the application. I can specify the number of loops that are going to be performed inside this application. I'm going to put in 3 here and then click execute. And while the application runs, it's performing a series of actions. Now once I'm finished here, I can click OK, close the application down. And once the application is closed, AQtime automatically shows the reports here in this report panel. Now as we look through all the method results here from form 1, you can see there is no results listed for the do action C routine. That means the routine was not profiled. So the fact is that after do action B was called, we turned off profiling. So that means that every line of code executed after that point from here on in the for loop here was not called. So now if you want to enable profiling during a run, if you want to activate it for a specific method, you could then call that enable profiling method again and just change its value equal to true. Using the AQtime SDK, you can add special code to your application that will tell AQtime to automatically generate profiling results. AQtime normally generates results once the profiled application closes. You can also command AQtime to automatically generate results by pressing this button right here. Alternatively, you can create an action that will have AQtime gather results at the beginning or end of a specified function. Now besides that, AQtime lets you generate the profiling results by calling the generate results SDK function directly from your application. Let's jump over to our AQtime helpers method here, and you'll notice that we have this generate results method. The generate results method is useful when the get results button and actions don't give you the control you seek. It may be difficult to press the button at exactly the desired moment, and the actions don't allow you to get results in the middle of a routine, just at the beginning or the end of a routine. So the SDK function allows you to get profiling results exactly where you want them. So now we'll demonstrate how you can use this function. As we've seen, the generate results function is declared in the AQtime helpers file, and since we've already added that to our project, we can call it at any point in our code. So let's jump into our application's code here, and let's say we want to call this method, the generate results method, after doActionA is completed. So I'm just going to jump into my source code here, and we'll type in AQtime helpers generate results right there. Okay, now I'm going to rebuild my project, and then I'll click the run button. Okay, so I've fast forwarded a bit, our profiling has been finished, and as you can see here in the Explorer panel, during our last profiling session, AQtime generated two sets of results, one at 10:39 and 29 seconds and one at 10:39 and 22 seconds. So these are the result sets that AQtime generated at the command of the generate results function, or when we called doActionA, and the results that were generated once the profile ended its run. Now let's look at one more interesting feature that allows you to assign descriptive names to the threads of profiled applications. Now as you can see, AQtime gathers profiling results per application thread. To form a thread name, AQtime typically uses a prefix that includes the thread nature, for example Win32, and the thread identifier. Now, these names aren't necessarily very descriptive, and it may be difficult to find a correspondence between these names and the application's threads themselves. So it would be a lot easier to analyze these results if the threads had more descriptive names. So to assign a descriptive name to a thread in your application, you should call the setCurrentThreadName function for the given thread. Now that function is of course defined here in the AQtime helpers file, as shown right here. This file, it also contains a method called getCurrentThreadName, which helps you obtain the default thread name, and that function is right below it, right here. So let's see how you can use these functions. Again, we've already added the AQtime file, helpers file to our applications project, so we can call these functions directly. So I'm going to go into my form1 function here, and I am going to go into my main method. So I'm inside the main method, and I'm going to add this line here. I'm going to say string old thread name equals AQtime helpers dot get current thread name. So I've just gotten a reference to the existing thread name, and then I'm going to set a new name. I'm going to say AQtime helpers dot set current thread name. We're going to call that main thread. We'll give it a, we'll keep a reference to the old information here. We'll say old thread name plus, and there we go. Okay. So now that I've done that, I'm going to save my project and rebuild the solution. And I'm going to start profiling my application. Alright, I've fast forwarded a little bit. My application is finished profiling. And after the profiling results are complete, you can see now we've got a new thread name displayed here in the Explorer panel. As you can see, that new thread name corresponds to the name we set earlier. So you can see the name we specified, which is main thread right here, and then the original thread name, which we included along there as well, which was thread 1144. This concludes our video. We hope you found it interesting and will be able to use the described AQtime SDK features in your profiling tasks. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact us at the URL on your screen. We wish you luck and hope you enjoy profiling your applications with AQtime.